in turn will then okay the bill, delete that amount of money because we have a running balance with the school board here at City Hall, delete it out of their budget, and then it goes to the Director of Finance,
Right.
our Director of Finance for the City of Danbury.
Mhm.
He reviews it. And
What's he
then
reviewing it for?
for, again, expense, to be sure that, we're not wasting our energies. If he feels that the usage at a particular location is twice the amount of energy being used there that would be used at another building, he's going to say, why is this building that is X number of square feet incurring this kind of a utility expense versus a similar building that we have in the city that's only spending 2/3 of this money? So he's going to raise a flag, and we're going to find out why. And then basically, once he gets an explanation, then he'll send it over to me and authorize me to sign off on it to be paid. However, again, there's question for me. I'll call the Director of Public Buildings and say, you've got any reason to explain to me why this particular bill is as high? But every bill, no matter what is in the city of Danbury, as I say, even somebody in the school system or somewhere else in the public buildings goes down and buys a box of Dunkin' Donuts, and I'm gonna use Dunkin' Donuts because if you have guests coming in and you go out and you buy Dunkin' Donuts, the bill's going to come to me, and I'm going to be certain that it was for hosting a meeting or a conference with guests. But I'm not going to authorize the payment of Dunkin' Donuts because you decided on Friday morning we're all going to have coffee and donuts.
But the Dunkin' Donuts bill or the bill for travel that you gave, that example, all those, and I'll call them bills for lack
Yes,
of a
go
better
ahead.
word, goes to the department head,
Correct.
who sits and says, okay, I have 16 people going, and some are carpooling, some are, it got by him, and then it went to the Department of Finance, and somebody there reviewed it, and then it went to the director. You're saying each one of those people just passed on this idea that they didn't understand that maybe travel meant only the actual car expense, let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
That it got through all that, I mean, you're talking about at least 4 different people reviewing this before it even gets to your office.
Yes, and the reason why they okayed it is because they had the answer that I didn't have.
The only other question I have is, you indicated that the city's bond rating will suffer if we didn't have a city treasurer. Is that your position?
I'm not saying the bond rating will suffer. I'm saying that bond rating companies and businesses that finance bond sales prefer to work with municipalities that have a representative at the table that's there representing the electorate versus a bond company coming in here and speaking with you, the mayor, and Peter Bezade as the Director of Finance, and the two of you are saying to me, we want to put out X number of dollars, because basically what they're saying is, okay, I'll work with you, but I don't know exactly whether or not the general population is behind this.
So it's your position that the bond rating won't suffer with or without a treasurer?
No, the bond rating will not suffer as long as we're able to pay back our debt service. What we find is that bond companies are more inclined to go to municipalities that have an independent elected official at the table versus administrative people.
I got you.
Because you look at the treasurer is the elected person in finance. The director of finance is the appointed person in finance. So you have an appointed person by the administration, and then you have another representative at the table who is in fact the representative of the taxpayers.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Dan, one quick question. And are you bonded?
Yes.
And who else in the city of Danbury is bonded?
Anyone in the city of Danbury that in fact handles money.
Thank you.
Questions? Questions, anybody?
Thank you for your breeze.
Jody, thank you very much. You did a great job.
Thank you. Appreciate the time, everyone.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, I noticed that it is late, and we have a few things on this agenda. Want to take a quick break, or you want to plow through?
Plow through.
The next thing on the agenda is a discussion on combining planning and zoning. Do we want that discussion, or would you like to table that? Because if you look at our agenda, discussion on planning and zoning, discussion on the length of term and term limitations for several offices, and the final thing was Mr. Gottschalk was going to talk to us about the possibility of petitioning for a special act regarding recall of city elected officials. And that would, so number 6 would impact number 5.
That's correct.
So shall we go to Mr. Gottschalk next?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I would concur with
Anyone
that.
think that makes sense?
I was going to offer a suggestion that we're not going to deal with number 5 tonight, right?
I'm thinking we're not going to come to a conclusion tonight on number 5. Is that the sense of the commission?
I believe you have some information concerning number 5 and people who might attend this. The mayors, didn't you?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Contact the mayors?
Yes. Yes.
So, shouldn't we hold that? We can have,
So table number 5.
right, table 5, we can have Rick speak to us about this stuff in
Yes.
preparation of it.
What
And
Mr.
the
King,
planning and zoning, is it worthwhile if everybody is up to it to spend a few minutes talking about that?
I don't know, Bob. I think a lot of people are hot and a little tired, so,
so let's put planning and zoning on
It's
the,
up to you, know, I have my,
let's
I'll
put,
go with the flow.
let's put planning and zoning on the next agenda.
Okay,
I mean,
The, well, lengths of terms, just so you know, I have contacted Mayor Boughton. He would like to come and address us, and I'm just waiting to work out details because we're thinking it might make sense to bring other former mayors in to speak to us, and that's going to take a little bit of coordination of schedules and things.
Right.
So we don't have a date for that yet. So that means we would table number 5 indefinitely. Do you want to discuss the treasurer's position and the city clerk's position at the next agenda, for the next agenda? Do you think you have enough information that we might come to some conclusions?
you know, my suggestion would be, if we're gonna do that, we really shouldn't engage in a protracted dialogue with any guests at that particular meeting.
It would be,
Short.
well, that's what I'm thinking. If we did planning and zoning and city clerk and treasurer as discussion items and possibly action items, that should fill up a meeting.
Yes,
Is that what you're
yes.
alluding to? Let's make that the next next meeting agenda, and hopefully I'll have dates then for the mayors at that point in time. Then we will skip ahead to number 6, which is the commission will discuss with its counsel, Mr. Gottschalk, the possibility of petitioning for a special act regarding recall of city elected officials.
could I just interject one thing?
You already
Briefly.
interjected one.
Thanks, I know. The last meeting, we were given this report. Peter, I think I may have received it from you. This is that report for 2004? The task force report?
Yes.
Regarding?
Yes.
Did everybody get a copy of this?
I think everyone has a copy of this.
If you haven't, I would recommend you read that.
We will have to make copies.
Okay, that's what I wanted.
You know what, I have a copy of it. I'll scan it in and I'll email it to everybody.
Great. I looked for that because it really is pertinent to the planning and zoning
Yes,
issue.
I think it's rather revealing of some of the issues that are occurring in the planning department and how they affect planning and zoning. kind of help guide me a little bit. I'm sorry, go ahead, Carla. I'm sorry.
Would you like to address this?
Sure. Start, and I can be brief.
It will be much appreciated.
Still ready to take your time.
We love you.
Remember that municipalities are creatures of the state. We have no powers that are not granted to us by the state. But there's language, lawyers wrote it, or people who weren't lawyers probably wrote it, that has a little play in the joints, and you can't really tell what it means. And so, people before us engaged in charter revision and included language in their charter that have permitted recall of elected officials. What the court said was, you're creatures of the state. Those powers which have not been given to you by the state have been withheld by the state. This one wasn't given to you. You don't have it. The charter provision is void. That's where we are right now. And that led to a conversation about whether or not we could create this law. We know we can't do it by charter, so is there any other avenue? The other avenue is, well, there are two. One is to seek through our legislative delegation the passage of general law on the subject. That would solve the problem. The only other option is special legislation that deals just with Danbury, rather than general language about recall that would apply to all municipalities. And the question came up last time about what is the right of the city to seek the adoption of special legislation. And in fact, as Peter Bezade indicated last time, our ability to do that is restricted. And really, with a couple of exceptions that don't apply here, it's restricted to cases where the general law doesn't fill in the gap already. So, yes, it could be done. I don't know whether the General Assembly would be receptive to it. Maybe not. But I know how you started. You started through the Common Council. Common Council has to vote to make the request by 2/3 vote, and then it has to go to Hartford prior to a session of the General Assembly and be considered by them. So there's nothing you can do, but yes, there is a mechanism. How successful it might be is anyone's guess. Is that 3 minutes?
Very good. Now, does everyone understand
You
that?
didn't answer anything.
All right, to put that in context, one of the issues, if we were to raise the length of terms to 4 years, many members of the commission have said, well, what would happen if we had a bad person in office and we wanted to recall them or impeach them? In effect, the short answer is, we can't do it under present statute. We can go to the Common Council and ask them to petition the state, and then the state's got to do a special act, and the fact is, it doesn't look like we can do that. So when it comes time for the discussion on the length of terms, and we start to review that, one of the issues is, it'll be very difficult to move people out. General question, could the charter have language that says if someone is indicted for a felony or convicted of a felony, that they must resign? Yeah, I don't, right, you haven't been indicted.
I think so. That's the functional equivalent of a recall.
It is. So what you're saying is we couldn't put in language that...
There's no language in the general law that affords the municipality this right.
But there is language in the charter, correct me if I'm wrong, that says if a mayor becomes incapacitated, and that could...
Inability to perform the
Right,
duties of authority.
right, incapacitated, he can be replaced, not removed, placed by the president of the Common Council.
There
So
is
in
language.
effect, if we had a mayor, if in fact we, this is the question, if in fact we changed the terms to 4 years, and then we got a mayor that got into all kind of scandals and everything else, and that interfered with his ability to perform his duties as mayor, could the Common Council enact that provision of the charter and say he's incapacitated and the president of the Common Council take over until such issues is resolved?
Then you were.
Well, you can imagine what would happen.
Of course.
It would depend on what decision the mayor at that time made. Maybe his view of the world is that in an electronic age, you can perform the duties of your office by email. Who knows what it'll say?
But who determines that, I guess is what I'm
A
asking.
judge would determine it.
Okay, so, but there is a way of separating the mayor from the office through the judicial system, even though it's not in general law.
What would happen?
Am I right, Peter?
I mean,
Isn't that
you separate him from
capacity?
the office by incarcerating him, but I mean, there is no mechanism that is clean and neat that he would be removed from office, such as impeachment, okay?
No, I'm not
All right,
talking about
or recall. We don't have that.
No.
Those are clean and neat, where
Right.
you know, where you don't rely on a different branch of government to take care of something. If the problem would be if you have a mayor who's under investigation and then he's indicted, but he's out. He's not in jail. He's waiting trial. I mean, he comes to the office every day. You'd be torturing the word incapacitated to do something about that.
How did Waterbury handle this issue with their mayor?
He was in office,
Yeah.
and they
But-
waited for him to resign.
Is that what it was? He
Yes.
resigned from office?
Okay, I want to have any more of a discussion. We needed that point for the next discussion.
You can imagine the dynamic. It's going to be a very fluid situation with the president of the Common Council, who is responsible by charter to perform the absence of disability of the mayor, who may or may not attempt to assume the responsibilities and the duties of the mayor. The mayor's office, the mayor himself would have, you know, a range of choices.
Oh, it would be
You can
messy.
imagine what it would
Of
be like.
course, it'd be messy.
Yeah.
But I'm saying
Yeah.
there is something
I
there.
think that the point is the one that Peter made, which is there's no clear path that tells us in advance exactly what would happen in the event of the indictment of the mayor.
Okay. So, that leaves us with, assuming that we are going to table the discussion of the clerk and the treasurer, table the discussion on planning and zoning, table the discussion on lengths of terms. This is all going to come up at the next meeting, so we don't have to torture other people being here. We will then put those on the next meeting agenda, if everyone's okay with that. Then we will add to that agenda, we have a couple of handouts. Mr. King went back through and came up with a list of all of our topics to be resolved. So I would ask that you take a look at this, and we will discuss this at the next meeting, if that's okay.
If you have any changes to that, if you can just email me, if there's something you want to add to it or something that should be deleted from it. This is the thing that Carl asked me to prepare.
And what that is, these are the things we've started to look at, and there may be some other things that we want to add, because we're looking to the end of this thing. And then, sure,
Thank you. Thank you.
and then, did you hand this out to everybody? Okay. We also have a copy of a draft preamble. That will be on the agenda for the next meeting also.
And the next meeting is July 14th? Am I reading that right?
Yes, I think that is the correct date.
Yep.
Any other questions? Anything that needs to be brought before this
Did you get a
fine
copy of this?
commission?
Did you guys get copies?
Yes.
Thank you.
When did that draft?
Oh,
Oh, no. Where did this come from?
Mary.
Mary Comstock.
Extra, Mr. Chairman?
Perfect. I'll keep an extra one, just because can't have enough
it will
preambles.
not be hurt.
We will endeavor to have the room chilled a little bit. Anything else anyone would like to bring before the commission?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn, please.
Well done, Joan. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, let's go on for a few.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all. This was above and beyond the call of duty with the heat and humidity and stuff.
Good tonight. It's getting late for dinner. Might as well wait and have breakfast.
Go find my wife and have a drink. Tell her what you said.
Just had a drink.
I don't think so. It's all, there's no case of powers there.
What was I going to ask Diane to do?
I don't know.
And what do they do tomorrow?
Well, you know, a group of people would come to see you. And what you do then